At the end of 12 weeks of Zoloft, I mean, maybe you're less depressed, but now it's harder to have an orgasm. At the end of 12 weeks, if you're walking, well, one, you're cuter and it's easier to have an orgasm.
Yay Networks.
Hi guys, my name is Amber Childers and welcome to the debut episode of Happily Ever Amber. I know I always freaking do that, but every time I say that out loud, I get so excited because I have been wanting to do this for 2 years. And if there's any lesson in this, it's like, just find your North Star and just follow it. Because there were months, I never thought it would happen. Anyways, we are here, we are doing this, and I couldn't be more excited. We are going to have wonderful conversations with experts and everyday heroes. I have so many great friends that I want to introduce you to. Some you may know, some you may not know. These people have been there for me. They've seen me go through some fucked up shit, but they have the greatest advice and they were there for me, and I want to share all of their experts and insights, and we are going to create a community. And if I could just give you guys all a big virtual hug right now, or an in-person hug, I would, but I'm just going to do this. So everyone, this is your hug from me. I wanted to start this podcast because we all have different versions of what happily ever after means, right? And it's not about looking on Instagram or what's that other one the kids do? Like, thanks, Riley. TikTok or YouTube. I see my kids do it, so I know we're not the only, my family's not the only one who does it. That's not real life, right? So I want to have conversations, even with my own kids, on this podcast, talking about things about bullying, being neurodivergent, having autism, understanding what transgender means, what it's like to have a blended family, what it's like to become good friends with people once that maybe you didn't talk to because they may or may not have been involved in shit happening in your life. There's just so many wonderful people, and I couldn't be. My English is not so good. I couldn't be more excited. Growing up, we all watched Disney movies, right? And we had this version of what our life was supposed to look like: the white picket fence, the 2 kids, the dog, the beautiful husband or wife. Or that is not the version of real life. Can that all happen? Yes, but it has to be your own. You have to own it. So whatever your North Star is, don't ever lose sight of that. And through these conversations that are going to happen right here on my couch, I hope that they inspire you and we could heal together, we could learn together. Again, thank you so much for being here. I couldn't be more excited. We are all family now, and welcome to the Happily Ever Amber podcast. Namaste. Whew. Okay. Now that we got that out of the way, and before we bring on our first guest ever, for those of you who don't know me, gosh, my name is Amber Cherie. My social security number. No, I'm kidding. Well, where should I start? I was born in Arizona. I was born in Cottonwood, Arizona. I was raised in Southern California. I played golf and basketball my entire life. I fell in love with acting at a very young age, and had a lot of really great luck, and a little talent, but mostly luck. I come from a beautiful Mormon family. My family is not Mormon anymore. And I have an older sister and a younger sister, which means I am the middle child. Yes. So for all you middle children out there, I see you. I see you. It's a real thing. Ask my mom and dad. I got married at a very young age. Before that, I lived in New York. I was on a soap opera for 3.5 years in New York City. And And I came back here, I got married and got pregnant right away after I got married. Okay, now I'm giving too much information. And I couldn't be more happy to have gone through everything that I went through in my life. I've learned a lot, and you take those moments and you grow and you heal. And here we are today. And I'm so excited because I have so many great projects coming up, this being one of them. And I can't wait to dive into our very first guest, who has been a beacon of light and wisdom and encouragement for me. He is my mentor, and I definitely couldn't be sitting on this couch right here if it wasn't for his strength that he has given me and guidance. And so, without further ado, I had a great conversation with Dr. Amen. He's a doctor, a child and adult psychiatrist. He has numerous best-selling books, TV shows, you name it. The guy has done it all. He has the biggest database of brain scans. I am so honored and thrilled that my air conditioning just went off. I'm so honored and thrilled that he is going to be coming on the show as the first guest. And believe it or not, Riley's laughing at me, my producer, because we are going to be talking about ADD in women. And I will be the first one to admit, hi, my name is Ambyr Childers, and I have ADD. Anyways, welcome. Thank you for being here, and let's get to the episode. Hi.
Hey,
How are
so
you?
great to see you.
So good to see you too. So I'm so excited that, first of all, thank you for being my first guest ever on my podcast. And I'm grateful because I was inspired by you through so many ways that we can definitely jump into, but really you've inspired me so much in my life. So for you to be my first guest it means the world to me. So thank you.
You're going to make me cry.
Don't cry.
You're very special to me.
Thank you. Well, there's so much that I want to talk about with you. So when we were figuring out the first episode, it felt very appropriate to talk about ADD in women. But before we jump into ADD, I want you to describe what you do to some of the followers who may not be familiar with your work.
So I'm a psychiatrist. I became a psychiatrist because someone I loved tried to kill herself. And I took her to see a wonderful psychiatrist. And I came to realize if he helped her, it wouldn't just help her, that ultimately it would help her children and even her grandchildren, as they would be shaped by someone who was happier and more stable. So this is 44 years ago. I fell in love with psychiatry, and I've loved it every day since. But I fell in love with the only medical specialty that never looks at the organ it treats. Think about that. Every other medical specialist look at whatever organ, your heart, your lungs, your liver, your colon, whatever. Psychiatrists make diagnoses based on symptom clusters with no biological data. That's insane to think that, oh, you're depressed, let me give you an antidepressant, that in large scale studies work no better than placebo. And before I went to medical school, I was an infantry medic and realized I didn't like being shot at. So I got myself retrained as an x-ray technician. And that was pivotal in my life because our professors used to say, how do you know unless you look? And it's become one of the themes of my life. So when I became a psychiatrist, I'm like, well, obviously it's the brain. The brain is our organ. I need to look at it. And when I look at it, everything changes. Literally everything changes. I can't make diagnoses based on symptom clusters with no biological data. That's stupid. And It's public knowledge. I've been Justin Bieber's doctor. And he came into my office one day and he said, I think I understand what you're trying to tell me. My brain is an organ, like my heart is an organ. If you told me I had heart problems, I'd do everything you said. So I'm going to do everything you say to get your brain healthy, get my brain healthy. And then he's just done phenomenally well. And so you came to our gala, the end of mental illness. I hate the term mental illness, shames people, stigmatizing. It's wrong.
Makes you
These
feel
are
yucky about
brain
yourself.
health, right? Or about your children, or about your husband, or about your parents, when ultimately these are brain health issues. Get your brain right and your mind will follow. So in 1991, and I'll bring it back to ADD. So I'm a child psychiatrist and an adult psychiatrist. And as a child psychiatrist, half the patients I have ADD of one form or another. And 1991, I go to my first lecture on brain SPECT imaging. SPECT is the study we do at Amen Clinics. And I went out of that lecture into the room of Sandy, who's a 44-year-old woman who had tried to kill herself the night before. And as I'm talking to her, I'm thinking to myself, she has ADD. Very bright, has an IQ of 144, but never finished college. When I asked her how she'd studied, this is the classic, it's a great ADD question. So tell me how you studied for college. She said, well, I never really did until the night before a test. And then I'd put on a pot of coffee, stay up all night, cram, and take the test, but I'd be totally wiped out the next day. It's a classic ADD way of doing school. And she had an 8-year-old son that had ADD, and it runs in families. And I'm like, I think you might have ADD. We should talk about that. She goes, oh, adults don't have ADD. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm the doctor. Who told you that? I said, well, why don't we look at your brain? And I'd done some other research where I knew I had to look at it twice. Once at rest, and then once again while she did a concentration task. So these are my first two SPECT scans. I think it's April 1991. And a couple of days later, I come into her hospital room, and on the table in front of her bed, put down the pictures. One at rest that actually looked pretty good. And then when she tried to concentrate, her frontal lobes dropped like a rock. What did that mean? It meant the harder she tried, the worse it got. And her suicide attempt was she actually picked on her husband the night before, something we should talk about. People who have untreated ADD are often conflict seeking or negative sinking. They poke at other people as a way to stimulate themselves. And she starts to cry and she said, you mean it's not my fault?
Mm.
And I love that. That's what got me hooked on imaging. Immediately decreased stigma. And I said, and I wear glasses to drive. And I said, having ADD is sort of like people who need glasses. People need glasses, and here I put mine on, aren't dumb, crazy, or stupid. Our eyeballs are shaped funny. And we wear glasses so we can focus.
Mm-hmm.
People who have ADD aren't dumb, crazy, or stupid. In fact, they're often very smart. And we give them supplements or medicine so they can focus. And immediately it decreases the shame, increases compliance, and also begins to increase forgiveness and compassion from families. And I was hooked on imaging, and imaging's taught me so many things. Like ADD is not one thing. It's like 7 different things. So stop giving everybody Ritalin. And I'm not opposed to stimulants for ADD. I'm opposed if that's the first and only thing you do.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Thank you. Okay. There's just like so much to unpack there. I remember when, and we can go back to the ADD in a second. I'll never forget when I was referred to you in, I don't know, 2017. After I got divorced, I needed an emotional reset. And so I checked myself into this place and they explained what you did. And it was like when you just said, when you don't look at the organ that you're treating, like that just doesn't make sense. And when this woman told me what you did, the light bulb was just like, well, duh, of course. Like, why are we just thinking about this now after so many years? So I think that's so important for the listeners to know is that we have all this information about ADD, but what we really need to do is we need to go and actually look at the brain and see how we could help every day. Oh, Jack's going to come say hi, of course, right now. Okay, so let's jump into ADD. Let's start from the bit. Like, what are the basic signs? Like, if there's someone who's considering my child, my loved one, my spouse, myself, what are signs that could, that they should look out for?
So ADD or ADHD, so different names for the same thing. When I trained in 1980, the DSM, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, I hate that title, it was first called Attention Deficit Disorder. And then in 1987, for God knows what reason, they changed the name to ADHD, Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. But they basically threw out half the people who have it, because half the people who have ADD are never hyperactive.
Right,
So it was
especially in women.
originally, especially women. So it was initially ADD with hyperactivity, ADD without hyperactivity. And they went and sort of lumped everybody together. And then later on, they went, oh, that was a mistake. So they went AD/HD in DSM-4. And I'm like, why don't you just say sorry and go back to a better name? Anyways, 5 hallmark symptoms, short attention span, but not for everything. This is really important. It's short attention span for regular, routine, everyday things. Homework, schoolwork, paperwork, chores. The things that make life work. For things that are new, novel, highly stimulating, interesting, or frightening, people with ADD can pay attention just fine. And so if a child, for example, loves their teacher, they do fine with or without medicine because love is a drug. Or if you're in a new relationship with someone, new love is like a drug. Well, you pay attention just fine for about 3 or 4 months. And then all of a sudden, when the cocaine phase of a new relationship wears off, you can't pay attention at all. So short attention span, but for regular routine, every day.
Like paying your bills
Often
monthly.
like paying your bills.
And that's why we have auto pay to help, women with ADD. Auto pay is easy.
Auto pay is so helpful. Like getting your homework done. Parents will often say a half an hour of homework takes her an hour and a half or 2 hours to do. The second one is distractibility. They see too much. They hear too much. They feel too much. They smell or even taste too much. And it's like the world comes at them too fast. And so tags on clothes bother them. My first wife and second wife have ADD. I love women with ADD. I don't know what that says about me. But right after we got married, like I'm a second year medical student, and I went into my closet and all the tags in my shirts were cut out. And I felt violated. And so I brought one of the shirts out into our little apartment living room. And I'm like, do you know who cut the tags out of all my shirts? She go, oh, I did. Don't you just hate tags? And I'm like, I never felt a tag in my life. And please don't cut up my clothes.
Wow.
But this is very important because it can mess them up sexually. Because what does an orgasm require?
Focus.
Focus. You got to
Oh,
focus on the feeling. And if you're always distracted by the noise or the smells or
or
whatever,
thoughts, right? Thoughts
or
just
the
come in.
thoughts.
I even say to Jeff sometimes, I'm like, you know what? When we were having sex, I had this idea. He was like, wait, what? While we were having sex, you were thinking about that. And I said, oh, sorry. It just happens. And so I stick my foot in my mouth all the time. But yeah, it's crazy how it affects. I mean, that's an entire podcast on its own. It's like having sex with a woman with ADD. I mean, yeah, but keep going. I love where this is
So
going.
many of the So, often the husbands are like, you need to go see Dr. Amen because if I treat their ADD, their focus is better and then their love life is better.
Mm.
Because if you can't please your partner, it makes you feel bad about yourself. It's like, oh, you don't love me or I'm not a good lover. And it has nothing to do with that. It's she couldn't focus to make it happen.
And
And
that's what
so
I
you
explain that to Jeff all the time. I was like, "No, honey, I love you and I'm so attracted to you. It's just my squirrel brain." Remember we talk about that squirrel brain all the time? And she was like over here thinking about something else, but then I was able to draw her back.
And so sometimes the medicine really helps that. So short attention span, distractibility, disorganization for time or space. And
Mm.
sometimes they're hyper organized, like not even the cat could go in the living room. You'd have to get the little roly thing to take care of his fur. But if you would have went in her closet, stuff would just fall on you. Or you could never get into her drawers because everything was sort of stuffed in there.
Mm.
So space, rooms, desks, book bags, computers. I have one of my ADD patients. She's showing me something on her phone. She had 35,000 unopened emails. And I'm like, you have 35,000. It's like, whoa.
That's a lot. That's a lot. And so
Yeah.
for women and men, it's very different, right? From what I understand, it's like ADHD brains for women, just because women and men obviously have very different brains to begin with. So it's going to the signs. It's going to show up in our daily lives
Well, these
differently.
five pretty consistent for both sexes.
Mm.
Um, and organization can also be for time. That many people with ADD tend to be late, and they actually don't start getting ready to go until in their head they go, "Oh my God, I'm late." So they need this dopamine burst or this stress burst in order to get things happen. And that leads to the fourth symptom, which is procrastination, is they put things off until someone's mad at them to get it done. And it's so common. And then five is impulse control, saying things or doing things that they wish they hadn't have said or done. And so if you have three of those, you should get screened for
Mm.
ADD. And it's not I had an ADD day, right? All of us have ADD days.
Mhm.
This is sort of the story of your life.
Right.
And sometimes it happens after a head injury. Like if you didn't have any ADD symptoms growing up, but that you weren't chatty Cathy in school, um, you weren't sent to the principal, or your desk wasn't in the hall because of how restless you were. But then you have all these symptoms. I'll often go, did you ever have a brain injury? Because it could be a concussion playing sports or a car accident or fall down a flight of stairs or you got drunk and got punched. All of those things can lead to ADD symptoms in adults. So if there's that disconnection, I didn't have these symptoms when I was a kid, and now I have them when I'm
Mm.
40, look for the intervening head trauma.
This is my squirrel brain, but I'm going to ask a question. Does that include roller coasters? Because I always talk to my kids about going on roller coasters and just imagine your brain shaking as you're going upside down. Does it have a similar effect?
We don't know, but I just guarantee you it's not a good thing
It
for the
doesn't sound
brain.
good on the surface. Okay. Um, so when we leave ADD untreated, what can come of that? What does our lives look like?
So if a child is 10 and has never been treated, they have lower self-esteem. I mean,
Mm,
just consistently, because they always feel like they have to work harder than everyone else.
mhm.
And it's like, and they have a sense that just something's wrong with them. And so if it's not treated until they're 20, they have a higher incidence of dropping out of school. They have a higher incidence of drug and alcohol abuse. There's a higher incidence of a divorce, incarceration, bankruptcy, um, and chronic stress. And for women, they often don't get diagnosed because they're not hyperactive or bring negative attention to themselves like boys are famous for. Um, and so they get diagnosed because they have an ADD son. And the son's causing problems at school. And when the son goes to get evaluated, a good child psychiatrist will like goes, all right, who's got it? Because it's very heritable. I mean, you get it from your mom or your dad. And it's so heritable that if I can't find it in mom or dad, I actually start to look at them to go, do they look like each other? Because maybe they got switched at birth. I mean, it's that heritable.
Wow. Wow. That's
And
incredible.
then we often, I've picked up, I don't know, hundreds of women who um, brought their son to me, and I'm like, okay, who's got it? And it comes from the mom's side.
Mm.
Not always, I mean, but often enough.
Wow. Okay. That makes me think of a lot of people in my life that I know. I'm like, I need to start looking at their mom and dad. Okay, you guys, if you're like me, you have a really busy, crazy life, especially during the week. And the last thing you want to do is think about grocery shopping or making dinner. With pickups and drop offs and work and walking the dog, HelloFresh does all the shopping and meal planning for you. Ingredients arrive at your doorstep, pre-portioned and ready to cook. How amazing is that? Along with pictured step-by-step recipe cards. Both of my girls love helping me in the kitchen now. How easy is that? Turn to HelloFresh Market for yummy add-ons and enjoy the season's limited time fall flavor lineup. Feast on desserts like apple cider cake with caramel sauce. Oh, yum. Or please a crowd with the appetizer like a barbecue pulled pork nachos. Yum. And don't forget the mini pumpkin cheesecakes. Perfect for a me time treat. Guys, don't miss out. Go to HelloFresh.com/50HEA and use the code 50HEA for 50% off plus free shipping. Okay, I'm going to repeat it again so you guys don't miss out. Go to HelloFresh.com/50HEA and use the code at checkout 50HEA for 50% off plus free shipping. Let's shift gears and talk about these little, I know you talk about these micro moments in our daily life that could help, because not everyone has access to medication. What can we do in our daily life just to help manage to the best of our ability?
Well, pick a job you like. I mean, love is a drug. So if you're in a job you hate, it's going to be really hard. And we're in an economy of 4% unemployment. There are lots of opportunities. You just have to organize yourself. But find a job you like, kill the carbs,
Mm,
start with a higher protein, higher fat, healthy fat diet, because that will help you concentrate. And most of us
Avocados, things like
know
that.
avocados, omega-3 fatty acids. I make myself a shake every morning, had one today,
Mhm.
where I put lots of great nutrients and um, low glycemic berries and an avocado. It tastes amazing. And water. People put fruit juice in their shakes. Stop that. It's way too much sugar. So
It
high
turns toxic,
protein.
right? Like, once you take the fibers out of the
So
liquid
when
out of
you
the fiber.
unwrap fruit juice from its fiber source, the fruit, it actually turns toxic in your body. There's a great YouTube video about this called Sugar, the Bitter Truth by
Mm.
Robert Lustig from UC San Francisco. And if you watch that, and I think like 15 million people have watched it, you will not ever drink fruit juice again.
Wow.
It's really powerful. Um,
So the foods that we eat on a daily basis have a huge impact on managing the ADD.
no question
Okay.
about it. And I try to get my patients to do like 30 days. Let's just do an elimination diet. Let's eliminate any of the potential troublemakers: gluten, dairy, corn, soy, artificial dyes, and sweeteners. 30 days. And let's just see how you do. And about 25% of people, their symptoms go away. So
Wow.
why wouldn't we do that with everybody? Let's just get you to eat right, to think right. And Tana, my wife, who you met, has a cookbook called The Brain Warrior's Way
I use it
Cookbook.
every day. The shakes are amazing. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. And I told you this the other day when we had our session. The vanilla protein is to die for. I'm not a big whey or protein person. This protein is delicious.
And it's plant-based protein,
Mm.
so there's no animal products in it. And I'm not 100% opposed to whey if it's organic and hormone-free, but so much of it isn't. Um, so
Mm.
diet, exercise. You want to treat your ADD naturally. Walk like you're late, 45 minutes, 4 times a week.
Every time I go for a
And
walk now, I have you in my head going, "Are you walking like you're late? Are you walking like you're late?" And I'm like, "Nope." Deet, 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 deet. And I have to walk a little bit faster, but it really does help. Like, walking every other day for 20 minutes has really made a huge impact on my life.
head-to-head study against Zoloft. So Zoloft's a good antidepressant. It's been around forever. Um, One group took Zoloft. The other group walked like they were late, 45 minutes, 4 times a week. At 12 weeks, they were equally effective. At 10 months, exercise way more effective. Plus, at the end of 12 weeks of Zoloft, maybe you're less depressed, but now it's harder to have an orgasm. At the end of 12 weeks, if you're walking, well, one, you're cuter and it's easier to have an orgasm. And so, I don't mean to be so focused on sex. My wife always gets after me for that. But I want my patients to live to the fullest
Mhm.
of their happiness. So, exercise is very good, especially coordination exercises. So, tennis, pickleball, table tennis. People who play racket sports live longer than everybody else. And one of the things I've noticed with imaging is the cerebellum in the back bottom part of the brain is sleepy in people who have ADD. And so doing coordination exercises can help. And
Mm.
then, simple supplements like omega-3 fatty acids and B vitamins, or rhodiola, ashwagandha, saffron have all been found to help with
I
focus.
love Happy Saffron. I take that every single day, the omega 3s. And sometimes when I really need to get things done, the focus and energy is amazing. Those supplements have changed my life. I love them so much. So thank you.
If I can, I want
Yeah,
to talk about something else.
sure.
When a woman gets diagnosed with ADD, say when she's 30 or 40, because her kids got diagnosed, there's the initial, oh my goodness, that explains things, and happiness and relief. But then after about a month or two, if the doctor doesn't tell her, she can actually get depressed because she starts to mourn the loss of what could have been. If I would have known this when I was 10 or 12, then I would have gone to medical school, or I would have been an attorney, or I would have. And it's very important to walk people through that valley of darkness. Because my friend Byron Katie has a saying, argue with reality, welcome to hell. And so it's like, you can't go back, right? I mean, all of us, if we could go back, we'd have done lots of things
Of
different, but
course.
then we wouldn't be the people we are.
Right.
And so own the sadness, mourn, and move on.
Right. And I completely can relate to that because when I did my first brain scan and I saw all these things and you explained everything to me, I was like, I got so depressed. Like, now I feel even worse knowing that my brain looks like this. But then I stopped and I was like, wait a second. This is like a time to celebrate. Now we know because of neuroplasticity and how it works, I could heal my brain, which means I'm going to be a better partner. I'm going to be a better friend. I'm going to be a better daughter. I'm going to be a better mother. I mean, all those things are so important. So, like, for me, it was appreciating having the opportunity, knowing the knowledge that we have, and hopefully that, people listening to this will understand that this is all positive. These are all things that we could do, every day, these little micro habits that we have that could change our life because our brain is changing as we're doing them.
So important. Often when I show people their scans, and often they're not good, which is why they came to see me,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
And I
besides my
go,
scan, the second scan, my brain looked
your
pretty good.
second scan was awesome. But what I often say is there's two ways to take this information. You can go, I'm damaged and that's awful and feel awful. Or you can go, I already knew there was a problem. That's why I showed up and wanted your help. Now we've identified it. Let's go fix it.
Right.
How awesome is that? Right? You're already awesome and you've always been awesome. If I can make you 10% or 15% more awesome, well, who wouldn't want that?
Yeah. Well, thank you. If people want to find you, where can they do that?
Well, I seem to be everywhere these days. AmenClinics.com. So Amen, like the last word in a prayer, clinics.com, and we have 11 locations. And I have 60 doctors that work with me. They can follow me on TikTok at Doc Amen, DOCAMEN, Instagram, Doc_Amen. And get my latest book, which I just dearly love, Change Your Brain Every Day.
I love it too. Also supplements, because there's so many wonderful supplements that we had talked about and that I use on a daily basis that I love. Where can they find those supplements?
So brainmd.com, they can find all the supplements we talked about today.
Okay. Thank you. Whew. Oh my gosh. Wasn't that an amazing conversation? I just want to take a moment and express my deepest gratitude for each and every one of you for joining me in this brand new community. Your support truly means the world to me. And to ensure that you don't miss out on any future episodes or conversations, please make sure you subscribe and like and find us on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget, we're on YouTube. I already said that. Okay, that's weird. Together, we're on the road to finding our happily ever after, and I'm so excited, beyond excited actually, to share this journey with you. Thank you.